All right, physics students, so last video for this week, vectors, error percentage. We're going to go through 3 questions for error percentage and kind of how to answer these 3 questions. I'm just going to move the, there we go, that's a little better. Okay, so we have, here's our formula, error percentage, our estimation or our guess, our accurate values here, and then just times by 100 to actually get your percentage. So let's go through 3 questions. Got them here on a piece of paper. All right. First question, so it says Mr. Westwood throws a paper airplane. All right, so Mr. Westwood throws a paper airplane, and it lands over here. It says he estimates it'll go 41 meters. So my guess, my M, is 41 meters. Where afterwards I accurately then measured it, and with a ruler or whatever I accurately measured it to 37 meters. By the way, that's a pretty impressive throw, 41 meters. If you think about that, you should make it home and try and beat me. So let's actually go through this formula and this actual answer now. So we're trying to find the error percentage. We have our M, we have our A. Let's go through the steps here. So we're going to go 41 minus 37 in our absolute value brackets over 37. All right, anything that comes out of here is going to be positive no matter what. Okay, it works out positive this time. But even if I guessed 33 meters, again, everything would come positive because of the absolute error. So this then turns into 4 divided by 37, which gives me a decimal of 0.108. 0.108. We times that by 100 to get our percentage. And so we're going to get, when we times that by 100, 10.8%. That is our actual error percentage on my estimation of my throw. So there's how to use the formula, kind of in a straightforward question when you're given the estimate and you're given the actual accurate. Okay, so there's question 1. Let's go through question 2. I guess I kicked up the formula there, but that's okay. All right, let's go through question 2. It says, Mr. Westwood jumped as high as he could. Okay, so now I'm jumping. So I jump up. There's my jump. It says, for me, it says his estimate, my guess, my M, my estimate guess was 2.1 meters. So I guess that I jumped about 2.1 meters in the air. All right. It then says in this question, which is kind of similar to some of the practice questions that you're going to have on your error estimation sheet. It says that absolute error was 0.4. So absolute error. So we have an error with an absolute here. We haven't exactly gone over this. If you watch the intro video of error percentage, the last video that I made, it talks about what an absolute error is. An absolute error is just how much were you off by, okay? So that's basically, this is just your, what is your M minus A? That's what this is, okay? So it says that this was equal to 0.4. 0.4. And the question asks then, what is the actual percentage error? Okay. Now, if I was off by 0.4 and there's absolute values here, I know my M, I know my this was 2.1. Okay, but I don't technically know what this is. Because it's an absolute error, this just tells me how much I missed by. Again, it could have been over, it could have been under, it doesn't really matter. So there's actually 2 right answers here, and I don't really care which answer you find as long as you find one of them. As long as you find one of them, it's a correct answer. Okay? So I'm still trying to find that error percentage. So I'm still going to try and find that error percentage, that actual answer. But I need to get an accurate first. I need to know what my A is. What is my accurate to actually get this? So I guess that I went 2.1, and my absolute error, how much I missed by, was 0.4. Well, if I thought I jumped 2.1 and I missed by 0.4, there's 2 possible A's. Okay, A could be either I was over by 0.4, which is 2.5, because you add 0.4 to 2.1, or I missed lower by 0.4, in which my A would be 1.7. Okay, so there's your 2 possible A's, but either one is fine to use for your actual equation. They're both it's going to give you a different answer, but that's okay. Both answers are in my actual answer key, and they're both right. All right, so now let's go through this question. I have A's, possible A's, and I'll go through both answers. Well, let's go through the first one. If I have this in the sense of like 2.1 minus 2.5 over 2.5. Well, I'm going to get 0.4 over 2.5. That gives me 0.16, which turns into 16%. If I go with the 1.71, so this is going to go here, this goes here. If I go 2.1, I guess I should put absolute there, minus 1.7 over 1.7, again, you're going to get 0.4 over 1.7, and you get a decimal of 0.235, which turns into 23.5%. Okay, so there's that other percentage. Both of these percentages are correct. Neither of them are wrong, okay? I know they're different, but it's just because we don't know which way. It doesn't say. Sometimes in the question it'll say he missed, his estimate was too high, or his estimate was too low. Well, then we kind of know what to do with this error. In this question that I'm talking about, it doesn't really tell me whether it's too high, it's too low, so just pick one and then go through the actual proper one. Okay, so in the actual practice sheet, there's a question that's basically exactly like this. It gives the guess and it gives the absolute error, how much I was off by, but it doesn't say if I was high or low. That's fine. Just make it either one and you're good. Okay? All right, so there's how to do that one. Last question. This one's usually the trickiest. It's not too crazy hard, but you got to kind of think about it first. So, in this last question, which I have right here, there we go. It says, Mr. Westwood threw a boulder over a cliff. Okay? He estimated he threw it 23 meters. So we have an M in question, M of 23 meters. Okay, so I threw a boulder over a cliff. I guess I threw it 23 meters. It then says, he had an error percentage of 12%. So now I'm given the error percentage. So the error percentage was 12%. Okay? It says, then the question says, find one of the accurate values. Okay, and why is there two? Well, let's talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's kind of go through this question here. The guess was 23 meters. That was Mr. Westwood's guess of how far I went. I was off by 12%. Do I know if I was off 12% high or low? No. But I know that I was off by 12%. So what can we find now? We can find an absolute error. Okay, how do we find an absolute error? We can find this EA. Well, if we turn this back to a decimal, I'll get rid of this A for a second. I have 0.12. We can take this and multiply it by 23. Because, again, I know I was off by this much. That's what error percentage means. I was off by 12%. And if I have my guess, I can turn that into like an actual real number. How far was I off by? So when I go 23 times 0.12, I get an absolute error of 2.76. So I was off by that much. Okay, so my guess was off by 2.76. Now, do I know if I was too far or too short on my guess? No, I don't know. So we could have two possible A's, and just like the last question, either one is fine for me. You're going to take that absolute error and either add it or subtract it to your guess. Either one's fine. So you're going to have two possible answers, either 25.76, which is those added together, and if you minus it, you get 20.24, okay, meters in this one. So that shows you kind of going a little backwards. If I have the percentage and I have a guess, I can find out what that error is, how much I was off by. And there'll be a few questions like this as well. Okay, hope this video helps. If you guys have any other questions about the assignment or worksheets this week, please chat with me and we can do some kind of chatting, or we can kind of figure out how to answer. Thanks, class. Have a good day.